Okay, it says we are live. So this is
Yeah.
take two, March 28th. American Micro. I'm Anthony Pago and Rodney. Rodney, we were talking about what now?
I'm Rodney Hubbard. Just the fact that Gen Z is just having a really hard time. They're having a hard time, not so much getting jobs, but finding jobs that make money. You know what I mean? Like the wage disparity in this country is just ridiculous. I mean, I make more. I mean, okay, so with what I make, as someone who's retired, I'm dude, I make a lot more than most people. Oh, it's pretty bad. I'm not going to say how much I make, but I just make a lot more than a lot of people do. It's just not good. I mean, I get it, I mean, so I started working in the I said, hold on. Literally, you might as well say the military. So it was like 20, like if you want to call it, if you were in a hierarchy or some type of, what do you want to call, industrial, like I worked for the military industrial complex for 9 years, right? But I learned a lot, and I'm not telling people, oh, you have to go in the military after college, or if you want to do whatever, that's not. I'm not saying you have to do that. But what I am saying is, you're going to have to work like the rest of your life, like I did, until I was 64.
Yeah.
No, 60, 60, 63, 62, 63. You're just going to have to work, man. And, no matter how you feel about, your situation, as long as you have a roof over your head and you hopefully come out the other end of this whole thing called life. I I didn't think I was. I literally did not think I was going to come out on the winning side of this thing. You know what I mean? Like I did not. There was no way you could have told me that I would be in the situation that I'm in right now, which is a very good situation. Uh, you can call it luck. You can call it, karma. I burned all that bad karma. You can call it whatever you want, you know. But somehow I made it to this place in my life where I can just chill, you know. I don't know what these kids are going to do, man. If you're 28 years old, imagine being 28 years old living in living in Podunk, 3 kids, a wife, in an apartment, you know, in a place that has very cold winters or very hot summers, has 4 seasons, and you're a construction guy, so you're working. Your work is limited. Neither one of you went to college. Neither one of you have an education. There are no factories. There are no plants. There might be some meat packing, something like that, right? Um, I mean, I think people know where I'm going with this. This isn't a situation where, uh, even though jobs are plentiful, you need 2 to 3 jobs to survive just on your own. You've got to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. You know, imagine that. You're a single mom, you're a single dad, or you're a two-parent household. You've got 3 or 4 kids. You know, we spoke about that before, dude. No vacations, none of this, none of that. You're did I not been on YouTube listening to these 26, 27, 24, 25 year olds just losing their minds, bro? Like they don't even know how they're gonna get. Like they have no idea. And you could say, oh, you're soft. Okay, all right, let's come back on that a little bit. Because literally the ladders of economic opportunity have been pulled up on these people. Like, there's no way. Dude, unless you have enough money, because how much does it cost to start a business? Just to start it, just to get the paperwork done and to put it out, that's $10,000 right there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to come up, and what could you use that? What could you use that $10,000 for? Number one, you could just save it for a rainy day in case something happens, like a breakdown of a car or a medical bill, or that's another thing. Dude, you could just go on and on. Medical insurance, car insurance, just insurance for your children, life insurance. How many people can afford to pay $51 to $100 a month on life insurance? There aren't a lot of people that can do that, bro. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, well, I feel like we need to discuss. I mean, you and I don't need to discuss, but like humanity needs to discuss the simple solution to this, which is pay them better. If you pay them better, they can afford that. And clearly, we don't have a problem making profits in this country. We have record level profits for a wide array of industries. We even have rising wages presently, but it's not keeping up with inflation. So they're not just stagnant in the position they're in, where they can't pay all of their bills. They can't, buy a house, me included. I'm renting. So we're effectively um, earning less when we aren't getting raises that match or keep up with or even exceed inflation. And it should exceed inflation at this point because wages are too low. There's a crisis for home ownership. Everybody's going to be renting. Nobody's able to inject enough money into this economy to make everybody happy. We've got a lot of older people who are telling younger people that they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get the 4 or 5 jobs if they need to, when those older people never had to do that. They were able to, raise a family on one job. A mailman, for instance, could be the breadwinner, and they could have 2 cars in some cases. Depends on what size house they had and blah blah blah. But that's one income. That's no longer possible. We need to have a real conversation, just like we did with the civil rights movement and ending slavery. You have to have a hard conversation about things are going to change for people in an uncomfortable way who have been comfortable all of their lives. And that may just be socially. You may just have to suck it up and be angry that younger people are getting raises when you think they're lazy and you think that they don't, deserve those or didn't earn them for whatever reason. But it's going to help everybody if those people who are now getting, dwindling Social Security, and it's being threatened to be taken away, and they're already retired and they're having to go back and get jobs again because the cost of living is raising. If they want Social Security to survive, they need to have young people getting wages high enough that they're feeding back in to those pools to keep Social Security alive. So these older people need to have an honest conversation with us and with themselves, and take it seriously that the often told, the rising tide lifts all boats thing is true in some instances, and in particularly in this one. They are going to benefit from young people getting higher wages. Those higher wages means young people are going to come in and start buying other products and other services and injecting more money into the economy. that means more homes are going to be built because more people can afford to buy homes. That's going to lower prices for homes in certain areas. And that may mean that, if you bought a home in, decades ago in the middle 1900s to the late 1900s for $44,000 or for $80,000, it may mean that you're only going to be able to sell it for $400,000 instead of $1 million because home prices level off and adjust more correctly to what they're supposed to be. That's a tough conversation to have, but I don't feel too sorry for people who were able to buy those homes on one income, or even two incomes where they didn't have to work three jobs each. So everybody needs to take a little bit of this seriously and stop pointing fingers solely at somebody else and say only these other people are to blame in order for this to fix. Now we can just keep going down this road until we're legitimately a third world nation, and keep blaming each other and letting politicians rob the coffers and keep getting more and more extremist until extremist groups take over, like FARC or like ISIS or whatever, in whatever country you want to point to where economies kind of collapsed and extremists took over. We're headed that way, and if we don't seriously talk to each other about what it's really legitimately like to live in this world now, and what uncomfortable things are going to happen for that to change, for our trajectory to change. If we're not able to have that conversation, we're just gonna go the way of extremism and collapsed economies, and that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I mean, what's the saying or song? It's well, there's going to be a lot of people staring down the end of the proverbial shotgun barrel. The barrel of a shotgun. There's going to be, when that shotgun, whatever's coming out of it, could be the end of, it could be, it could shoot it. Dude, just think of all. I remember when I was in a bad roommate situation, and I remember realizing for the first time in my life that I was probably going to have to move motel or sleep in that brand new car I just bought, because my roommate, who is now deceased, my ex-roommate was now deceased, because dude was crazy, right? He was absolutely batshit crazy. And it was either stay there and deal with this guy, at one point go to jail. And I didn't have I'm making a lot of money, but I'm paying a lot of rent. And I've got a brand new car and I'm paying insurance. Was it like that? Dude, I mean, I'm just talking like in the 90s when I was like, working and doing my things, I could afford to live by myself. I could afford, to live in a house for $1,200 a month. That's how much my house was when I moved to San Diego in 1999 or something like that? No, it was 2000. So I got this house in 2000, right off of right across the street from the Whistle Stop. You know where that is?
Yeah.
And it was 1,200. An entire house, San Diego, California, $1,200 a month. When I moved here to California, we rented a house in Hollywood, well, in the hills, Hollywood Hills. We rented a house for a beautiful home, dude. $600 a month. Was it? This is 1992. You're going to tell me 20-something years later, that same house is for $3,800, $4,000 a month. No, dude, that house now is probably, if you were to rent that house now, it'd probably worth 7, 8. Put it like this: I told you about my friends who are renting a house in City Heights for $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
$3,500 a month, dude. They're both teachers. They make a lot of money, but they're like, dude, like, how are we going to do this the rest of our lives? I'm like, you can either stay here and enjoy the weather, or you can go move someplace where it snows, man, and buy a home. Because that's, get in where you fit in, man. You're not, people now, I think people are really coming to, especially younger people, Gen Z, millennials, I'm sure they're starting to understand that I'm not going to be able to live in California the rest of my life. I'm not going to be able to live in San Francisco or LA the rest of my life. What do? You move someplace where you can buy a home, dude, and hopefully things go well for you. Because the rest of the world, just from a Gen Z or a millennial point of view, doesn't look like the world I grew up in, man. It doesn't look like the world.
Yeah.
Hold on, are you a millennial? No, you're Gen X.
Gen X.
So it doesn't look like the world. Yeah, it doesn't look like the world that you and I grew up in. I was born in '59. I'm part of that cohort called Generation. It's like right after the boomers, right? It's from like '59 to like '66, and then Generation X starts.
Yeah.
And and then it's just like, because I mean, dude, I was a teenager. Like, people don't understand. Like, they think all boomers were like teenagers in the '50s. Like, dude, and the '60s, dude. I was 17 years old in 1976, 77. I was 18 in 77. And I grew up with punk disco. I didn't grow up with, although, when I was a kid, I didn't grow up with the technology. I mean, the most technology I saw by the time I was 18 was what were those calculators called? Those like high-powered calculators.
It's like the TI-80s or something like that.
What's that?
The Texas Instruments.
Well, anyways, they were high-powered calculators. Yeah, the Texas Instruments. Those. I mean, that's what I grew up on. We didn't have any. We didn't have computers. We didn't have any of that stuff. And now these kids are. They're they're somewhat sheltered, man. They are. I mean, and I hear people, oh, well, they're trying, they're doing this, they're doing that. I'm like, bro, you know what? If you think technology is the best thing that could have happened to kids in America and around the globe, well, that's why we're sitting in front of our freaking laptops all night long, all day long, looking at YouTube, not working out, not doing anything but just getting. I know, dude. I went from 203 to 248, just doing nothing. Doing nothing because of this freaking little monster called my laptop. It's just, let me put it like this, dude. If you looked at Soul Train and you go watch a Soul Train video on YouTube. Just say 1974 Soul Train and look how thin those people are. They're beautiful. And they're just going to the disco. Of course, we had some kids who were a little bit heavy, but most of us were just thin. Because we ate what our parents, we didn't go to McDonald's. We ate what your mom and dad fixed you. If you were hungry, you went in there and made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You didn't go to Burger World. You know what I mean? Now you could just order stuff. Like, you could just, think about what these kids are going through. They don't have to get up and go anywhere. they don't have to. They don't have to. All they need to do is to their phone and order it, and it comes right to their door. I know because I'm in that same bad situation. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think that
You
I
know,
don't fault I don't fault kids for not getting out to do the things that we used to do. It's too expensive. They don't have the money to do it. Now I'm not going to give them I'm not going to give them that they can't just, walk around the block or whatever. Some blocks, I guess, are dangerous, so it's not entirely possible to do that everywhere. There are ways to get
yeah,
out and exercise, and all of that, but it is harder now to do that type of thing than it was when we were younger. I'm a little bit younger than you are, and it was a little bit difficult. We did have like the panics, the scares of people driving around kidnapping kids and stuff. But hey, you know what? Somebody did legitimately drive up next to me and ask me if I wanted to get in the car. That really happened. I did not. But for the most part, I was able to like ride my bike and my skateboard around the neighborhoods, and did great. Got a lot of exercise in. But it is definitely the case that over time the cities have become less walkable. Regulations have necessitated that there is more and more parking lot space around buildings. Um, there have been until recently, no sidewalks. The school systems seem to have kind of spread out further. It's no longer across the street or just down the block, especially when they're moving things away to charter schools and defunding public school systems. Um, the corporations are putting more and more food and more and more preservatives in more and more expensive food, less food for more and more money, and it's less healthy than it used to be. Even the vegetables, and the fruits that we have are not as high quality, and all in the name of profits. Now I get it, kind of the markets, capitalism is what makes the world function right now. We can't function without it, but there is a middle ground, and we're not seeing corporations work with us on the middle ground. They are not taking responsibility for what they are doing, what they are adding to this equation too. It's not just kids who are causing their own demise. It's their demise is being accelerated intentionally or knowingly by corporations who are making, you know, um, cheap food that's available to them, that's affordable to them, especially when they're working three jobs and they can't spend the time to cook or do meal prep for the week or whatever. It's really expensive to go to the grocery store anyway. When there's cheap food, there's not healthy cheap food. It's all high sugar, high fat content, small portions, fried. It's just awful, bad stuff that's going to make you fat. And when we're working, most jobs are not jobs where you can walk around the block or like walk up and down, anything. You're frankly tied to a desk, or if you're working in a grocery store, you stand or sit in one place forever. It's not the type of exercise that people need. And if you're working that many jobs, you're stressed out. Stress also puts on a lot of weight. So there's all these things that are working against young people that's leading them towards unhealthier and healthier lifestyles. And it's not just the actual physical stuff, like what they're putting into themselves, and the inability to walk around or the inability to go to the park because there's a housing crisis right now because homes are too expensive, wages are too low. So now there's homeless people at the park and it's unsafe for them to go to the park. Um, there just because of all of this, there's a mental health crisis. There's a mental health crisis amongst women that is a particular variant. There is a health crisis, a mental health crisis amongst men, who is a particular variant, and they're different. And the ways in which they're different actually exacerbate. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Make worse. Um,
Yeah, make worse. Yeah.
yeah, they make worse each other. And I'll give a little brief glimpse into this. I'm sure the younger people don't need this explained to themselves. Um, a lot of girls that are social media, adept and constantly in this realm are getting hit with body image problems and mental health problems because they're seeing perfection online through Instagram or through TikTok. And there are these influencers who are getting lots of likes and they look really pretty and they're doing interesting things. And it's all manipulated and fake, especially with filters and cherry picking all of the stuff that they're posting online. And these girls are feeling a reduced sense of self
Right.
worth than they used to, and the guys um, have a different thing going on where the world is changing in many ways for the better and in many ways for the worse, so that everybody's dealing with the wage stuff and not being able to afford things. But this also impacts guys where um and you're gonna have to hang with me here for a second because we're going to talk about kind of the Andrew Tate stuff where they're radicalizing young men
Oh, the
and
red
and the young
pillars.
men.
The red
Uh-huh.
pillars.
um the young men have a point in some of their kind of complaints or what they're noticing, but nobody's talking to them except for the people who are radicalizing them, like Andrew Tate. These young men have a point in saying, "Hey, I don't feel like I have self-worth," because they've been trained by this patriarchal ancient type idealized world where they're told they have to be the breadwinners, and when you can't earn enough because you're not being paid enough, even if you have degrees, you have multiple degrees and you're 100 $200,000 in debt, but your wages are way too low to pay that off, to buy a house, to be the breadwinner. Your self-worth is down, in the dirt. And then they see, so here's what a lot of these guys are saying, who are being radicalized, red pilled by people like Andrew Tate. Not the rich ones. The rich ones are fine. Rich people are doing great. And, they might have self-worth problems for other reasons, but we're talking about right now the people who are kind of struggling in the larger like group of people who are struggling. Um, the people are primarily following this red pill, manosphere, this macho kind of thing, are the ones who are seeing the wages not keeping up with their bills, and these are the people who will tell you in studies that a man should be the breadwinner and that a woman should be able to stay at home or should stay at home. It depends on who you talk to. Whenever you get up in higher incomes and higher education levels, you get men who are more prone to say they agree with feminism, modernity, and that it's okay for a man to stay home and watch the kids or attend the home or work from home or whatever. And it's fine for a woman to be the breadwinner and go to work or whatever. Whenever you get up in earnings, it's not really that big of a deal. But when you go down, and especially when you get out into the rural areas in income, when you go down, that's when you start to see in the polling these guys say that the world is going to hell, and that women should be subservient to men should be the breadwinners. They've got these conservative ideals. It's being fed to them and reinforced online, and so these men understandably are becoming depressed whenever they see it's true that there's a gender gap, and women's wages have traditionally been very, very much lower than men's, and women's wages are raising a little bit faster than men's. In fact, it's quite a bit faster than men's. So you see these young men who are watching some other women do better and post, curated Instagram and TikTok feeds where they're ballers and they're making money. And these guys are like, well, wait a minute, I'm poor. I was promised that I would be the breadwinner. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with the world? Something's wrong here. And then that's the type of person who gets radicalized. So they have a point in that they should be making more money. We should not have such a gender gap. We're still trying to catch women up and get them paid more, or get them more presence in like CEO boards and stuff like that. In some realms, they're doing really well, but in some places, they're still lagging behind because of this kind of old boys club traditionalist way of ignoring, their gender and, putting men over them. So
Yeah, but you know what? You got to watch what you wish for in that situation, man. I mean, because most of the world never lived like that. I mean, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, North Dakota, South Dakota, Missouri, Oklahoma. I mean, those people were just they were working in refineries, they were working in plants, warehouses. They were doing all this stuff, all the work that was being done in this country was mobilized by unions. When corporations, like you said, took all of that away, when Reagan said, when Reagan deregulated, when he busted the unions, basically, even though Michigan is very heavily still a union state, that part of the world is. But for the most part, all of the things that used to feed this country are gone. They're gone. I mean, I'm like, my generation is like probably the last generation of people who were born in like the early '60s, who could get a taste of that that way of life. My mom and dad started working, or my mom literally go to work when we were like 13, 14 years old, because my dad, even though he was working for the government, making a lot of money, they had 5 kids. And that happened to all of our parents. That happened to just about every one of my friends that I grew up with. Every one of their parents went to work. Every one of them. Both parents worked. We were called latchkey kids.
yeah.
So those kids, the kids now, the kids now that are bemoaning the fact that, when they talk about body count, when they talk about, dude, just go to work. If you're going to sit here and complain about Sally or Jeannie or Beth or, Courtney, or just let them do their thing, and you go do your thing. If that means just not having a girlfriend for a long time, get your life together first, bro. I mean, that's where you are now. You're not
It's
going to
great.
be around any of that.
It's great advice, but we
Go ahead.
need to like start a PSA program, like where we buy
And
ads.
by PSA, you mean what?
Like the old GI Joe commercials where they taught you not to take drugs from strangers in vans and stuff like that. We need to inject this into popular content, into commercials, have influencers push the idea that that we need to teach young people, that the zero sum game philosophy is a lie. It's a lie to keep them down. Another woman or some spectrum of people earning, more suddenly doesn't mean you necessarily have to earn less. They're not taking away from your ability to be successful, to earn more, to buy a house. Just because women are now getting paid more than they used to be doesn't mean that you are like your people are going to withhold from you. If you have the capability, you're not going to get passed over. These are the lies, the zero sum game that, like, in order to give to one, you have to take away from another. These are the ideas that are fostered most amongst the radicalization, groups, where we're trying to convince people to hate immigrants or to hate, people of color, because that's the whole DEI thing that's going around right now. They're like, oh, well, this plane crashed. What color was the pilot? It's this pervasive notion that somebody is taking the job who doesn't deserve it. And that's being pushed
I don't
into.
have time for that shit. I just don't
Yeah,
have time
well,
for
I
that
mean,
shit. I just,
but that's what's
you're
being taught to
absolutely
our.
right though. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I get it. It's just, dude. It's just, you know what? Go to work. Go to work. You know what? Find another job. If you are 22, 25, 27, 28, 31, 32 years old, right? And you don't understand, if you're having a hard time realizing what this world is about right now, then something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. I realized by the time I was 28, 29, 30, 31, I realized what I needed to do. All I needed to do was find a job and go to work. And then while I was at work and doing that job, I would still be looking for a better situation to make more money. And once I got that job, I would still be looking for a better situation to make more money. I mean, if you want to be stuck, then be stuck. Okay.
Right.
I guarantee you right now, Pago, I could go find a job. Right. Well, of course, I have a ton of experience. I'm still young. I could just go out there and do my thing. No problem. But if you're 25, 26, 27 years old, and you're groomed, you're well spoken, if even if you go out and get that $40 an hour construction job, you know how many women I see holding the stop sign at a construction site. You know what I'm saying? And then it says go and
Right.
stop. They're making 28, 29. Yeah, dude, go get
Well,
that
but
job.
okay.
Who
So
cares
I
what you
I hear
do?
you.
You
I
know?
hear you. I hear you, but I think the problem is that that is what older people have always been telling these kids. The problem is when they do what they're told, and I've been researching the younger generations for the last 2 weeks in preparation for this kind of conversation. When they do exactly what they were told to do, when they put together the CV letter, the cover letter, and they put their resume together, when they go to establishments to apply because they see a job opening, they're told, no, you need to apply online. And then they apply online and they get
Yeah,
rejection after
yeah,
rejection or not answered. These people, these companies are using AI to go through their applications now, and the AI is throwing things into the bin, one after the other. There might not even be human eyes on these applications. We see young people telling us that they will get one interview per 100 or 200 applications. That is insane. It's literally becoming a full-time job to apply for your first job, for one job. And that's why people are staying without jobs for quite a while, is because they are perceiving that there's not jobs out there, when in fact part of the problem, I'm not saying all of the problem, but part of the problem is that corporations have become lazy. They are trying to take the easy way out and doing the hiring. They're letting computers run everything, where they're pulling together
yeah,
all of these applications and letting companies rifle through them and hand them what they consider to be the best candidates. They're not allowing people to come in and see them face to face, when that is the way you and I used to, and frankly still do, get our jobs. We know how to find people, hunt people down, see them face to face, and say, "Hey, look, I know you need some help. I've got this experience. Do you have 5 minutes to chat? Do you have 2 minutes to chat? I'll chat with you for 1 minute," and we get our foot in the door. These kids are told over and over and over that that is not tenable. You cannot do that. They try it and they get told, no, you need to apply online, and those online applications get thrown into the trash. So there's only a certain number of construction jobs. There's not like a million. You can't have five people holding the stop signs in the road at a construction site. There's only so many people who can do all of these tasks, and not everybody's cut out to become a roofer or whatever. So we need to be realistic. There are jobs out there in corporations, and they should be paying well, but
yeah.
they're not. Corporations are not paying what they should be, and the hiring process has been royally fucked. They have royally fucked the hiring process so that it's extremely hard to impossible for the right people to get the right jobs. And that's where we get a lot of like it's easier to do nepotism at that point. If you're not getting what you think are good candidates because you're not seeing anybody and actually weeding through them, you're just going to hire the easy one where somebody told me about their cousin, or your whatever, your nephew needs a job and you hire that person. So that becomes even worse. You cycle through people constantly because you're not getting the right people, because you're not looking for the right people in the right way. So then we continue to keep wages down in this way still. All of this stuff just feeds into each other. Everything is making everything worse. And if
No,
we
I get it.
just
I
took the
get it. I
time
get it.
to
I
do
get it.
things right, yeah,
Yeah, but that's not what we've never been about that, dude. We've never taken the time to do anything right in this country, dude. I mean, it's just not how it's done here. Look, I mean, that's just, if we'd have taken the time to do things right, there wouldn't have been slavery, there wouldn't have been any of that stuff. If we had the consciousness to think beyond, the cruelty and the horror of what we've done to other nations, to coup them, to take their resources, to destabilize them. All these things that we've done lead where we are right now.
yeah,
Period.
yeah,
We've put ourselves in a situation. Look, 3.9 billion, 4 billion people. Now there's 8 billion people. There's twice as many people on this planet. And I guarantee you, when I was what? So I got out of the Marine Corps in '89. And I went to work, but it was a great gig. And then, I stayed there for about a year and a half. And then I went to work for this electronics company. It was a retail job. It was a great job. I moved out west and I started working for AT&T. And I worked for AT&T for, Lord knows, God, almost 7 years, something like 10 years. What, 92, 90? Yeah, something like that, 9, 10 years. Anyways, and then I moved to California, and no, I was already in California, but I moved to San Diego, and that's when it was just like, everything was just like, oh, here's a good job, here's a good job. There are jobs everywhere, and then the recession hit, bro.
yep.
And that's when I was like, yeah, this sucks because I can't find a job. I was a telemarketer for like a solid, from like 2008 to 2011, dude. That's all I did was telemarketing. And then I got a job with Sky River, which was, no, it wasn't Sky River. I can't remember. No, it was anyways, it was a telecom corporation. And I stayed with them for like 4 years, I think it was, to like 2015. And I got my shit together because I was making money. You know what I mean? And I could afford things, a new car. And then I went to work for the software with a lot more money. And then freaking COVID hit, dude. And that was like the beginning of the freaking end. COVID hit in 2019. My roommate lost his mind. It was just bad. It was just bad. I mean, you got to figure that into the equation too. After, or better yet, during COVID, the supply chain just went to shit, right? Gas went up, food prices went up, everything went up, right? Because we couldn't get, things from point to point B. The food, whatever, wholesale, whatever was on the shelf, we just couldn't get it from point A to point B in the stores. And then after that, freaking corporations just started, and I don't know what made them, why was so possible, or how it happened that they were able to do all of this. But they've been gouging us ever since, bro. They've been gouging, and now that's where a lot of these kids are just like, dude, I can't afford anything. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. And you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is, when there's out there, I mean, like, you might not want to go to work, but you might have to work there. You might have to make 18. I have a buddy, he's 59 years old. He's a former Marine. He and I were in the Marine Corps together. He came down an hour. He said, dude, 10 years ago, no, he said, like, what was it? Like, he's 97, 98, 99, 2000. He goes, I was making $120,000 a year. Now he's making $18 an hour.
Yep.
And I'm just like, really, bro? He's like, yeah, man. I can't. He goes, I don't want to leave Tampa, but he goes, I'm going to have to go offshore again to make the money. He's 59. He goes, I don't want to work I don't want to work that hard, but I'm going to make $200,000 in 6 months. And it's hard work.
Yeah.
Offshore drilling.
Yeah.
Oil. And he's dude, he's just like, I don't want to do it. He's like, dude, you are so lucky. I'm like, I'm like, I am. I just, and I told him, I'm like, come June, dude, I'll once I get through with this record, like, this is the last record I'm doing, unless something like. But after this record, I'm like, all I'm going to be doing from this point on is saving money, and I'm gonna buy a farm and just do that kind of deal. But no, I mean, yeah, I feel sorry for these kids, dude. I do. I couldn't imagine being 28 years old with a couple kids. The only thing you can, and you can't afford anything. You can't, like you said, powers that be. Giving it up to some computer program that hires the people for them. There's no such thing as human resources anymore. Those people, they don't. Is there? Does human resources still hire people anymore? Do they?
No,
Do
I
they
think they
sift
just.
through? You're right. No, I got to agree with
HR
you.
is. HR is now just there to protect the company from lawsuits. So whoever got, sexually assaulted is now going to get fired. And on their way out, they're going to be forced or coerced into signing a contract that says, nothing improper happened and they're leaving of their own accord, blah, 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 blah. That's what HR does now. That's it.
They tried that with me, dude, and I just told them, dude, this is what I did. They tried this. Well, we want you to come in. I'm not going to tell you the name of the company, but I worked there for it. And they were like, we want you to come in and do the other. You sign this, sign that. I got there like 6 a.m. I was the first one in the office. I'd already written my exit letter, and I didn't sign anything. And I'm like, this is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's here because I emailed it. So, there's a copy of it no matter what. And like about 5 or 6 months later, I see my frickin' sales manager in what was it? Can't remember the name of the store. He was like, dude, man, why'd you do blah, blah, blah? I'm like, dude, you guys are just, I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, I'm not. What, did you really think I was going to sign that? Did you? People are wrong, dude. They are.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen some of these things where girl's 28 years old and they're firing this. She's been with the company 3 months and they're firing her because dude, like, you have to have at least 90 days to get up and running, to get a sales funnel up and running. They fired her after 90 days. And she even told them, you told me I would have 90 days to get this thing up and running. And I'm there. If you look at all of my activity, look at what I've done in 90 days. Look at who I'm well, I'm like,
You know, you're frozen for me again. So whoop, it looks like you're reconnecting. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
But hey, I guess this is a yeah. This is I guess this is a great time to end this. I mean, yeah, this is number everyone. But yeah, I mean, no, yeah, Pago has a great point. Not a great point. It's unbelievably valid. You know, being a Gen Z person or a millennial, especially Gen Z. I mean, you're 19. You're not even barely 25, 26 years old, 27 years old. You know, and you can't afford anything. Here's the deal. My nephew went to Cornell. My niece went to uh, I think it was California, up in UC Hayward, up in California, 4.0.
Got frozen again. Well, I feel
So
like
they're all
oh,
doing as you know they and I mean if you go to an Ivy League school, you're going to get a job. Do it, you know. And you know he's got all the superb. You still there? Yeah, you're still there.
yeah, I'm here. Yep.
He's got all the superb.
Well, now your screen has gone black. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on getting our internet speeds a little bit better, and hopefully anybody who well, there is nobody live, but if anybody ever sees the long form of this video, sorry about the technical issues. I'm sure we're gonna edit this down though, and get little clips from this put on the YouTube here soon. So Rodney, if you're watching this later, hi. But yeah, oh, there you are. You're back. Okay, yeah, you've cut out multiple times.
Yeah, and we'll see go around probably what's today? Thursday? Hopefully like Sunday or Monday,
Yeah,
Tuesday, something like that. We'll see. And I'm going to be some of these up here myself. So, but I'm tomorrow. I'm going to do. I'll see you inside the studio.
cool. All right, I'll see you inside the studio. All right, thanks everybody.
All right, man.